Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my Frost Death Knight PvP guide. We're going to be talking about talents of Glyphs and rotation, how to kill things and burst things. Okay, check out the videos and the links right now. They'll open a new link so it won't tab you out of what you are now. Just open a new link and watch it later. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the optimal talents for getting as much damage out as Frost DK. Because Death Knights, let's just get this into your heads right now. They are a single target burst class, very burst class. They also have a very high amount of sustained damage. They don't just burst damage and then they can't do any damage after, because a lot of classes like that, like Maid and things, have to wait for procs and things. Frost Death Knights do a lot of good burst damage with the when they get the procs and things, and then they can continue to do damage because the procs will just keep coming back, and that's why the Frost Death Knight is so good. It's really good for rated backgrounds. It's almost required to have a Death Knight. Well, it is required for you to have a Death Knight in rated backgrounds now because the damage is so good and it just never lasts. It just keeps going, and the cooldowns 1 minute cooldown for your maximum big cooldown. Okay, so the talents. Plague Leech now is absolutely awesome for Frost. It used to be alright for Frost, and I used to use Untitled Blight a bit more, but now I'm using Plague Leech all the time because this will give you an extra obliterate, which is awesome. Just make sure your diseases are still important to keep on your target because the increase of damage of your obliterates and your frost strikes. Naturally, don't think the increase of damage of your frost strikes, but the increased damage of your obliterates by 12.5% for each of your diseases on the target. So that's, my math is bad, 25%. It's an extra quarter damage when your diseases are on the target. It's quite a lot. So make sure your diseases are still on there. But really your Frost Fever will be on there all the time because you'll be using Howling Blast or Icy Touch. Just make sure you're using it. Key bind Plague Strike. Use the Plague Strike to get the disease back on. It's going to increase your damage. Anyway, well, that's the first here. Rolling Blood. You don't want to be using Blood Boils. It really ruins your rotation. And Holy Blight is actually pretty good because you can get diseases on everybody and burst people down. And it's not bad. How long does it last? Well, 10 seconds. So that's not bad. 10 seconds, your disease around everybody. That means you've got 30 seconds to kill a raid. All right. That's how quick Death Knight is damage. Lynchborn is still really good. Might use Purgatory, but I really prefer to use Lynchborn because when you use Antimatter Shell, you basically, when you absorb damage, you generate rune power, and when you use that at the same time as Lynchborn, you end up getting a lot of rune power and a lot of heals, which is really helpful. Asphyxiate, I use this because it's a lot more crowd control. Because well, Frost Spec, you have less crowd control than Unholy Spec because you don't have your pet stun. And that's why I have Asphyxiate, because it's a very short cooldown and I don't rely on Strangulate. I do sacrifice Chillbanes, but I live with it, okay? I just live with it. Because you need more crowd control. Getting crowd control is helpful because you're just going to kill things, okay? You need really to just burst and kill things. Alright, I'm using Conversion at the moment, but obviously I will use Death Packs when I'm against burst comms. Conversion's alright, it ruins your runic power a bit, but you actually don't need his runic power as much as you need it in a Holy Spec. Because your Frost Strikes don't cost as much runic power, especially when you're in Frost Presence. You should be playing in Frost Presence over time, basically, as well. But Death Pack, yeah, it's still alright. But yeah, because Conversion's more sustain heal, Death Pack's a quick heal. Remember to be using these abilities, or try to aim to use them in Blood Presence, because they're going to heal you more. Okay, Rune of Corruption is probably the best. I think it's the best. It just has a much better proc rate, a chance to occur. Basically, when you use Frost Strikes, your rune regeneration is increased by 100%, but that's all of your runes. Whereas Runic Empowerment has nearly 50% chance to a random fully depleted rune. So that's just one rune. Okay, so whenever you do a Frost Strike, you have 50% chance for one rune to come off a cooldown. Whereas Rune of Corruption, you have the same amount of chance for all of your runes to regenerate faster, and that's why I think it's better. Especially how in Frostspec you're using Obliterate and that takes up 2 runes. So you want those 2 runes coming back at the same speed. You don't want one coming back before the other. That's exactly why Rune of Corruption is the best. Okay, Desecrated Ground is obviously marvellous because it's just basically an extra trinket. Definitely recommend using this. Yeah, it is very strong talent. I only use Remol's Winter when I'm in the Brawls Guild. It's not that good because everybody knows how to counter this. Girlfriend's Craft obviously very, very useful for rated battlegrounds. So take people, grip people towards you, maybe spread some diseases. It's obviously a good idea to do sometimes in Frostback, but mostly to grip people into a Solar Beam or Ring of Frost, you know, for a mass crowd control of an enemy raid in rated battlegrounds. Okay, let's move on to Glyphs. Okay, so ignore what I'm got equipped right now because I'm doing a bit of PvE. Glyph of Dark Simulacrum. It's very good for obviously absorbing spells, which is very helpful. So it's great utility, and when you get the glyph, you get a better chance to take the spells, and you can take more spells because the cooldown is reduced. Death and Decay isn't extra slow, but the thing is, you use your Unholy Runes for obliterates, and you don't be using anything except obliterates and Howling Blast, really, unless you really need to use over runes. So I wouldn't recommend using it. Death Grip is awesome. Glyph of Death Grip increases range by 5 yards. That's awesome for rated battlegrounds because someone's just like, you know, a tiny bit away. Sometimes this extra range on the Death Grip is just really all what you need to get a kill. Glyph Icebound Fortitude is great against spell classes that stun a lot, you know, because the cooldown's reduced, and when you use Icebound Fortitude it will pop you out of stuns when you are stunned, which is obviously very helpful. Glyph Icy Touch is a dispel with Icy Touch. Icy Touch is okay to use. It's you know, it's good, and Rhyme, which is one of the procs, will free up Icy Touch. You make Icy Touch not cost a rune, so it's still a good thing to do. Glyph of Mind Freeze is a bit crap, gonna be honest. It's more useful for PvE. Shifting Presences is pretty good, you know, for getting your heals in, because you can switch to blood presence and not sacrifice as much runic power, then get your heals up with your runic power and your, you know, your Lich Bomb. Strangulate, I wouldn't recommend using that because I'd recommend using Asphyxiate instead. And Vi's pretty okay. Obviously, regenerative magic, it costs a bit on the auction house, so I haven't got it right now. But Vi's a really good glyph. Basically, the less damage you absorb when you got AMS up, the shorter the cooldown will be. So that's obviously going to be helpful if you just want to use AMS to block like enemy spells like Polymorph and Frost Nova and things like that. Okay, so let's talk about Frost DK rotation. There is a proc called Killing Frenzy. Basically, it will guarantee a critical strike on Obliterate or what's it called? Frost Strike. The other proc is called Rhyme, which will make Howling Blast or Icy Touch cost no runes, so it's a freeze it up completely. And they're all the procs, and obviously all your DPS procs. So ideally, you want the proc for Killing Frenzy to be used with your Obliterate because it's going to do more damage. Not in dual wield, but in two-hand. But two-hand does more damage. It's much more better for PvP. Don't use dual wield. I would not recommend it. It's more sustained damage. That's why it's best for for raiding. So obviously use Horn of Winter whenever you can. Get your disease. Diseases are still important for Frost Definite because they increase the damage. So, you know, use Outbreak, or I would recommend using Outbreak straight away because it's not going to ruin your runes. Copy cooldowns. There you go. I've got a proc on Killing Frenzy, so I'm going to use Obliterate. You know, big crits. And then, well, I'm not got the pro. Oh, you see, you want to avoid using Frost Strike with the Killing Frenzy proc, but if you can help it, I mean, if it's going to take too long for Obliterate to come off cooldown, just use the Frost Strike with the crit, it's fine, you know, because you don't want to be wasting too much time, you know, you want to be killing things. But obviously, if you're waiting for your Outbreak to come off a cooldown, and you've got the proc, and you've got a free Howling Blast, then use the Howling Blast to wait for it to come off cooldown. You don't want to stop doing damage. See, the cooldown's a bit long there, so I'm just going to use my Frost Strikes quick, and then I'm going to use my Obliterates. There you go, got a crit there. Basically, the longer it goes between your Killing Frenzy procs, the chance increases. So when you get Killing Frenzy, okay, you use it on the Obliterate. Use as much Frost Strikes as you can, okay, before the proc comes back, so that, you know, it has a reduced chance for occurring when you're doing your Frost Strikes. You need your Frost Strikes, you know, to increase your rune uptime, because it's going to increase your rune regeneration. I'm going to pop cooldowns again. I'm just going to do Frost Strike. There we go, and I'm going to go proc. Big crit. And I'm going to use Horn of Winter. Also use Horn of Winter when you're waiting for Obliterate to come off cooldown. And that is pretty much all I can tell you about the rotation. I mean, it is pretty straightforward. Just wait for your procs and just do truckloads of damage. I mean, there's 3 abilities which you're mainly going to use, and obviously it is still viable to use Soul Reaper for the haste build, because that's going to also increase your rune time. When you're popping your cooldowns, I'd also recommend casting Raise Dead within the cooldowns. Okay, let's briefly talk about macros. I'm just leaving a load of them in the description. I'm going to very briefly talk about them. The main macro I like to use is basically it's asphyxiate. Asphyxiate will work, or strangulate will work basically on a mouse over, or with a shift modifier will work when you focus. Stance macro basically switches between Frost Presence and Blood Presence, pretty simple. Mass Grip is going to target you, it's going to cast Gorfine's Grasp, and so everyone goes to your target, otherwise you'll have to click yourself, which is obviously going to slow you down. Cooldowns, basically, this is basically a one-shot macro. It casts Pillar of Frost, but also uses Raise Dead, and it also uses a Brawler Potion, because I did a Brawl skill and it's good. It increases stuff like that, increases my strength. Okay, the heal macro basically does Raise Dead and then Death Pact, which is obviously going to be very helpful. And that is, oh yeah, and also Grip, which works on a mouse over and shift modifier. And that is pretty much it for Frost macros. Oh yeah, same thing with Chains of Ice. You know, works on the mouse over, works on the focus, and the same with Icy Touch. So those are all macros I really need to know. Make sure to keybind Plague Strike. You need to be using Plague Strike to get the Digital. Okay, thanks for watching the video, guys. Comment, like, and subscribe. Check out my in-depth guides as well. Ciao.